PowerPlayChess, brought to you in association with Kagi. The recent tournament in Casablanca, Morocco, featured a stellar lineup and a novel format. Sponsor of the tournament, the Casablanca Stock Exchange, not Capablanca Stock Exchange, the Casablanca Stock Exchange, had invited Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Viswanathan Anand, and Bassem Amin, so 4 players from 4 different continents. The city Casablanca conjures up wonderful images, and the event looked beautifully staged. And in my mind, I also think of the classic film from 1942 featuring Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. One of my absolute favourite films. The games in this tournament started in positions selected from historical encounters. They were carefully chosen to ensure that the machine evaluation of each position was roughly level. That's fair, but what these games demonstrated is that some positions are more equal than others. First round, first position was taken from the Chigorin-Steinitz World Championship match in 1889. And I'd like to look at both games that were played from this position. Well, it's going to be this position. I'll show you how we got there in a second. But that's the starting position that the players were given. And they were given 2 minutes to kind of collect their thoughts about this position. And this was a rapid play, by the way. I'll go back to the beginning. So I'd like to look at both games. First of all, starting with Magnus Carlsen against Viswanathan Anand. Vishy coming out of kind of semi-retirement to play this. And then I'll look at Nakamura against Amin. So here we go. It's an Evans Gambit. Well, that's fantastic to see. Time goes by and Anand is forced to play the Evans Gambit with black again. Vishy's heart must have sank a little because he lost a game against Kasparov in just 25 moves. Way back, 1995, celebrated game. So it's a tough one for Vishy to have to face this one again. In that game, Vishy played Bishop e7. Maybe I'll show you that game sometime. But anyway, Bishop a5. Now d4 is the most popular move here, but castles, this is stipulated. Queen f6. I mean, already things starting to look a little bit strange when the queen comes out like this, but it's still fine for black. And this is a bit awkward for the queen, because if queen g6, then bishop e7. If knight takes, that's horrible. So king e7, ugh, that's pretty dreadful as well. Anyway, queen d6, queen b3, attacking f7, rook d1, bishop b6. So this is the starting position. The players had to start from here. And it looks pretty uncomfortable for black, I have to say, with the queen blocking the d-pawn, which in turn blocks the bishop. And white, has a very free development. I mean, this knight is lagging a bit, but this is a huge problem for black, of course. And with the rook opposite the queen as well. So it's white to play. I should say that in the original Chigorin-Steinitz game, Chigorin took on e5. And then, so queen is attacked. Queen g6 was played. And actually, Steinitz won this game fairly quickly. But already this is... He played rook e8 here, but in fact he could just play knight e5. And that's already better for black. The endgame with the 2 bishops is better for black. But in fact, in this position, knight d2 is still reasonable for white. Anyway, so that was Chigorin-Steinitz. Nakamura played bishop f1 here. And Carlsen played what, to my eyes, looks like a very natural move. He simply brought a knight out. Why not? Connect your rooks, bring another piece into play, and you never know when this one might be able to hit the queen. Now, let me see. Anand played knight a5, which is sort of understandable. Hitting the queen and looking at the bishop as well, although that's going to be tricky to take when the knight comes in. Another option is to take here and then put the queen on g6, and the computer thinks this is actually okay for black, although it looks pretty scary with that queen being kicked around and this big centre. I mean, white certainly has compensation for the pawn. Anyway, knight a5 played, queen a4, and yeah, this is uncomfortable. You certainly don't want to take immediately because of this. That's nasty, and yeah, black's position looks an utter mess here. So Anand had this in mind. Get the knight off e7. It's protecting a5. Carlsen played a very natural move. He simply took on e5, hitting the queen. The rook hits the queen and the pawn does. And in fact, black is still okay here. Queen g6 is the move. And then simply play d6 and, give up a pawn in order to, get this bishop into play. Black is all right there. But Anand had prepared in his head something else. Queen c5. Keeping tabs on these pieces and also looking at f2. And he'd probably anticipated bishop e3, queen e7. And, black is okay there. But here Carlsen came up with an absolute zinger. Rook d5, obviously overlooked by Anand. This is a crushing move. And this is the problem with rapid play. It's very easy to overlook tactical possibilities. So that forces queen takes f2, check. But the problem is the queen is trapped. There's no going back here, there's no going back here. And white is going to pick up the queen. For example, if knight takes, let's say d6, then bishop h4, queen moves here, and rook e1. Queen is gone. Or, okay, let's play another move. d6, rook f1, and rook b5. The queen is a goner. So yeah, for example, here, and bishop d2 looks like it traps the queen. So Anand decided to play queen b2, and after rook b1, he simply gave up the queen and tried to get as much booty as possible, but actually this is very easy for white to clean up. Rook takes bishop, so if the rook is taken, then bishop takes knight. So knight takes and rook takes, and here Anand resigned. If d takes, then, white has a winning material advantage. Black's problem is if c takes d5, that actually picks up more material. That is the problem. So yeah, completely winning position for Carlsen. Let's go back and just very quickly look at Nakamura against Amin. So here is where here is where Carlsen played knight a3. Nakamura played bishop f1, super solid. He was obviously concerned about the move knight a5. And yeah, protects the king, but actually black should be okay here. Queen g6 again should be the move. And black is solid enough there. Remember, black is a pawn up. But Amin played knight g6, and then he went for this move, and this is very unfortunate because of rook takes and knight b5, hitting both pieces. Amin gave up his queen, which under some circumstances could be very good for black, but there are problems here. This bishop is shut in, this bishop is loose, and Nakamura goes for a quick attack, and this is fantastic for white. D5, well, he's trying to break, get this bishop out. Perhaps D6 next. But Nakamura just shows who's boss here by hitting that bishop. Repeats the position, then deviates, and finally puts the queen on an excellent square. See, all with tempo. So this queen now has a route to the king side. H5. E5, that's very nice. That's going to open this up, this diagonal. And bishop f6, threatening queen g5. And of course, that's absolutely crushing. The queen will come in. So the game finished like this. H6, queen f4, the queen transfers. Bishop d3, d5. I'm afraid that's just too late for this bishop. Bishop takes g7. Queen f6, and Amin resigned. If king g8, then that is crushing, threatening a check here. And I'm afraid black's king is not going to survive that one. So there we go. I think, these games demonstrate that in rapid play, if you have the initiative, if you have pressure, then it is simply very, very difficult. And while the computer thinks this position is still roughly level, actually, with these top guys, it can be absolutely deadly because it's really difficult to untangle from this position, basically. So there we go. I think this Casablanca tournament was really interesting. Carlsen ended up winning with 4.5. Let me see. Nakamura had 3.5, Anand 3, and Amin had 1. But yeah, it would be very interesting to see some more of these tournaments anyway. I'm going to show you that game between Kasparov and Anand. I don't think I've shown it on the channel before, so that's coming soon. It's kind of a classic from Kasparov when he was at his absolute height in 1995. So look out for that one. Thanks for watching.